What's up, folks? Casual Dad here with another quick X-Wing video. And this time I want to go ahead and do a little bit of an unboxing of these. So I've got all three of them you can see here. This is all of the scenario packs that Atomic Mass Games put out for X-Wing 2.5 edition. We've got the first Battle of Yavin. And I've got this a little bit sideways. This is the first one, Rebels versus Empire, a scenario pack where you relive the Death Star trench run from the first Star Wars movie. Then we have Siege of Coruscant, which is Republic versus Separatists, and has a bunch of kind of key cards in it. I actually know the least about this scenario. No one ever talks about playing this one, but it is one of the more popular ones, especially because right now the X-Wing meta is a little bit busted because of cards in this box. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And then last we have the most recent Battle over Endor, not Battle of Endor, Battle over Endor, where of course you relive the attack on the Death Star, where the Rebellion tries to blow it up and the Empire tries to save it. Now, I've never actually played any of these, but I've heard wonderful things about the actual scenarios, the ones that I've heard of played, so not Siege of Coruscant. But one of the key things about these is that they include, and we're going to go in order here roughly, one of the key things about these is that they include the, oh, you can see my fingernail paint is still coming off. My daughter started kindergarten this month, and she's so excited about it. And one of the key things she wanted is she really wanted to paint everyone's nails. So there's the table of contents on the back. I'm not going to spoil that. We'll go ahead and see it and see what's in here. In this, we have the Battle of Yavin scenario, which of course has some nice iconic artwork talking about it. I just rewatched Endor with my wife. So there are different squad building limitations on this. So I just rewatched Endor with my wife, so we've been thinking a lot about like this era of Star Wars right now. And I was pretty excited. She's not generally into Star Wars that much, so it was pretty cool that she got really into Endor. So, very exciting. Not going to do too much into these. There's your map, so you can kind of get a sense for how it's played. It's actually a trench run where the Empire has a slight home court advantage, but the Rebellion does, it's not the, they don't start in the trench. They still have to get there. So, and then you run through the trench and do the actual bombing run, which is pretty cool. We may cover that in a later video. We'll see. But kind of the core part about this, you've then got the components. They actually have the cardboard components of the Death Star trench, and we'll go ahead and open that real fast. But one of the things that really makes this, I believe I said divisive, is that it really represents a change in strategy and kind of production strategy from FFG versus AMG. It's one of the key things. Having narrative scenarios that are outside of competitive play is something that FFG kind of did, but didn't really go into heavily because, I mean, I have no idea why it was a major focus of their game, because they didn't do it very much. They really didn't talk about the Beer and Pretzels crowd in that way. They didn't do scenarios or missions. These are some of the pilot base plastic, and these are just the ones included in what we're about to see. And these are only ones included in the card pack we're about to see that also don't have base cardboard elsewhere. So you'll notice this is nowhere near the number that you need to actually run all of the pilots in this box. But this is actually a very nice set of cards. And the first ones are scenario rules cards that kind of talk about, like what you actually have to do to accomplish and complete the mission, which is, again, very cool. Now, I really enjoy this, and that they chose to do this and put some time into this, took development time. I can't really say if that was a good decision or not, right? But, you know, it's a thing. So they did this. There's the attack run in Yahoo. And love this. Nice. A little reference to Han Solo and that Battle of Yavin. And here we go. So if you are familiar with playing the game at all, you've played any amount of time, you will probably recognize this style of card and this card. If you are not, I want to go ahead and highlight one of the big differences here. This is what's called a standard loadout card. So you see it's got the pilot card, and then it also has the pilot ability, the stats here, of course your initiative there, faction here, name and subtitle there. And then it's got both the ability and then the chassis ability and the action bar. But then it has your upgrades built into it. So you would just take this card, pay the points for it in your squad, and then you just take it as is, as compared to a classic pilot card, where most of the stats and ability are on there, but none of your upgrades. And then you have points to spend to slap your upgrades on there. To talk about that real quick, why are these good, these quick builds? Well, they save a lot of time. Number one, you can just have a deck of these and just pop them on the table and not end up dealing with your shuffling cards and moving as many tokens. And anything that does that is nice. I actually really appreciate that. It also lets you build really thematic pilots where you can put way overpowered upgrades on them, way beyond the points that that ship can have in a balanced way, which is cool, right? So for someone like Darth Vader, you can have Darth Vader without giving Darth Vader like 25 loadout, which people would put into the most overpowered combination of upgrades. So that's kind of the good. Now, as for the bad, let me go ahead and take a look here. Oh yeah, the Empire set. We'll just pop right through these. Oh yeah. Now, as for the bad, so they're extremely difficult to balance, right? Because you don't have any lever to pull aside from points because everything else is still built into these. Now, you can errata, you can change stuff on these, but you get into that, that's a slippery slope, so we don't really want to do that. But we'll get to this in a second. Oh, God, I love the artwork, though. Big, large style artwork. Oh, yeah, it's full art on the back. Nice. But if you have seen these, if you've seen a couple of these around or seen people talk about these, you may wonder why no one ever talks about Sigma 5 or Sigma 6. And the reason for that is that, oh, excuse me, knocking my camera. The reason for that is that these are incredibly hard to balance. So most of them are priced for the scenario, so you can build them in the scenario and they're fun, but they're priced to where they're not worth taking over a custom or other pilot in a competitive setting. So you have never seen Garvin Dryas on the table, or Garvin Dreas in the table if you've been playing anytime recently, but I can pretty much guarantee you've seen this Luke. This is the Battle of Yavin, Luke Skywalker, can fire proton torpedoes without a target lock, and has force and pretty much guaranteed to get a focus token. So he's extremely, extremely good. And so that is one of the biggest downsides of these quick builds, is that they're not particularly well balanced. So that they're balanced well for the scenarios, they are, I hesitate to say they're not balanced for competitive play, but some of them really, really stand out as very good, and others are just kind of okay. And we're going to kind of look at the other scenario packs as we go through here. Next up, we have Siege of Coruscant, and this one I'm going to focus on that point a little bit more. Now, I do really like the efficiency of these. It's very cool to be able to make these flavorful upgrades. Ooh, this one's a little bit different. I really enjoy... So again, Siege of Coruscant. I really enjoy that you can make a flavorful version of a pilot that's just kind of more in theme with that pilot. So just to harp on it again, the thing that I've wanted ever since they started rolling these out, ooh, big full art. The thing that I've wanted since they started rolling these out is a War of the Bounty Hunters. So you get all of kind of the named classic bounty hunters with their ship, with their abilities, something very iconic that makes them good, all of them very good, maybe a little bit overtuned, because you can't take all of them in a list anyway. But you think about Dengar, for example, he's a really challenging ship to balance because he was broken as heck. You could argue that the Jumpmaster is actually the ship that broke first edition X-Wing. And a large part of that is just because of what the ship was able to do. And it's been nerfed dramatically now, but every time you get a bunch of points into, a bunch of loadout points into Dengar, he suddenly starts creeping up as the thing can like double shoot proton torpedoes with a ton of mods and take insane amounts of damage. So to have a Dengar that was very thematic and balanced with like 30 points of loadout that could not be spent on proton torpedoes would be a dream to me. I would love to be able to fly that pilot in a functional way without him kind of breaking the game again. And so that's where I really think the biggest strength of these quick builds is that thematic, you can play this thing without breaking the game, right? And I really love that. But I mean, if you're looking at this card, it's just a bummer because this is the thematic Luke Skywalker. He's got the abilities for Battle of Yavin. He's got that attack speed ability here. He's got instinctive aim, which is, of course, talking to Obi-Wan. Proton torpedoes, which you need to do the trench run. R2-D2. That alone is like 20 points of loadout right there, if I'm not mistaken. 12 and 8. And then instinctive aim is another couple, and attack speed doesn't have points, but whatever. Like, this is an extremely expensive ship if you're doing the points for the upgrades. And much more expensive than you can do on custom Luke, which is why you never see custom Luke. And custom being the one where you take the loadout value and then you pay the points for upgrades. Siege of Coruscant. Let's actually do a quick thing. So there's our setup. There, of course, is the system of Coruscant. Separatists actually have the advantage because they got the Alpha Strike, and then Republic has to catch up. And then scenario rules. Let's see, what is the... The fun. Oh man, I love every single reference to where this is where the fun begins. Okay, so you do actually try to like. There's a Chancellor token that you try to get back as the Republic. That's cool. And a force charge, nice, nice. Anytime they reference this is where the fun begins as a rule, I just absolutely love it. Oh, cool shot, nice, cool artwork. Anyway, we'll get into that. I know very little about that scenario. I'm gonna have to play all of these someday, but I don't know that it's gonna be soon. And this, of course, has different scenario pieces that I'll look at a little bit. And actually has a little bit more cardboard. But if you remember from that intro, it was a little bit of a smaller box than the other two. Oh, sorry. I'm on the floor here trying to do a nice camera angle, and I am just a creaky old man. So we've got some scenario features. That's very cool. A two-part scenario feature that's actually the full ship. Nice. Oh, that is cool looking. Okay. I like it already. And then we've got some of the extra things. And there's a large base ship in here, so you have a couple different extra pieces. Ooh, more buzz droids. Love that. It's nice to have those. Some Chancellor Palpatine tokens. Very nice. I could use those as force charges. Oh, except they're not reversible. And then some of those. Okay. So a little bit more basic than the other, and definitely not as many pilots. And then this one actually comes with some upgrade cards. So look into that too, which is an interesting take, right? Because it is... They're mostly rules cards. So here's what I mean here. So ion bombs, that says what the ion bomb does, which is a really cool rules thing. And this is one of the things that AMG started doing that I really liked. They had more guide cards where it's an ion bomb. You don't need the full art and everything, but you do need the rules of exactly what this does, because those are a little bit hard to find, especially on bombs. So there was a lot of experimentation in the boxes that came out of AMG that make me like really enjoy. Somebody there was doing really good work designing stuff for the ease of play of the game. So like you got this guy and a quick build, it's dramatically easier to just pick this stuff up and play than it is otherwise. And then of course you've got one of the most complicated cards in the entire game. So, but thematic, you got to do it. Then we've got Ada Anakin, who's pretty freaking cool, who did also cause a splash for a while, but he was not the problem in this set. Neither was Obi-Wan, who you basically never see. It was, so here's the thing though. So the Ada is a ship that, call it like it is kind of bad. It's really hard to balance because it has a pretty significant upside with that 3 primary and a bunch of force on these things. Even with the 3 hull, that 3 evade plus the force makes them potentially very scary. And so again, very hard to balance, so you can't put too many points into them. But they kind of suck because their downside is so low. They have this just massive swing between ceiling and floor. So this is one where they kind of had to have quick builds to make them flyable. And there's extra stuff in here that just makes these guys a little bit better and gives them a combination of stuff. Like here, Anakin has regen on this R2, which is really nice. Yeah, regen that doesn't work because it doesn't have shields, but he can still repair the hull. So, and then Obi-Wan has patience, nice. And they've got this interesting thing with the ancillary ion weapons. But these are things that... This is sort of where that design space is, where you can make a ship that's not great, you can give it a second life as these standardized loadout quick build cards. And Shock T. Oh, and here we get to the bad. So if you're familiar at all with the current competitive meta, which has been going on for too long because we haven't got a major points update in quite a while and won't until after Worlds 2025, the triple arcs list, which is these 3, is gross. Just because it has such a combination of abilities that it is good at everything, right? It just sits in the middle of the map and just kind of wins with stuff flanking around the edges. There have been a lot of variants of that, but it's really those 3 that each of these is 4 points. So 12 points gives you 3 of these suckers, and they're medium bases with just insane hit points and a bunch of defensive abilities that they share that just make these incredibly hard to move. So these are problematic for the game. There are levers to pull, though, where the points could be changed, where one of them could be 5 points, 2 of them could be 5 points. It wouldn't be super difficult to fix them, but they haven't been fixed. And that's kind of the dark side of these standardized loadout cards. That is really a bummer, right? And I do wish we saw more of these, because there are a ton of these in these boxes, but we never see them because the handful that really stand out, Count Dooku's had a bit of a heyday. And this is cool, because Count Dooku and the Scimitar has never been good. But this one definitely has come out more. And I actually have one of these from the World's Prize Wall, I think that is, oh, what's the word? Foil. But there's some cool stuff in here, and there's a little bit for the Separatists, but you will note that you never hear about the Separatist stuff because it just was not at the same power level. This is one of the early boxes they put out. And I think they were always trying to figure out what to do with it after they released it. The Tri-Fighters are fun. There's a lot you can do with Tri-Fighters. There's a lot that can be done with these, especially these ones, but you just don't see it. So part of that, just to kind of overanalyze, what is that? So this is the scenario objective cards that I had missed in here. This is Invisible Hand. Just that one. Okay. Ooh. Oh, cool. This scenario. Interesting. I'm sorry if the focus is going in and out a lot. Hopefully it's not too bad. All right, on to the last one, because I don't want this to be super crazy. But I've been sitting on these boxes for a while. Shout out to Gamers Guild AZ, Gamers Guild Arizona, being one of the few online shops that I'm still able to find stock fairly regularly. And you check them out week to week, they have more stuff in stock. The one ship that I don't have to play like any of this is an Ada. I don't have an Ada 2 Actus, and I'd really love to have one. So, Battle over Endor, our last one. This is the latest release that AMG put out. It was one that had us all had me really excited kind of about the future of the design space, and more optimistic than ever for my War of the Bounty Hunters coming. It was a bit of a bummer that the third box we got was another Rebels and Empire. But still, there are things in it that I really love, especially TIE Interceptors, which there were, I think, TIE Interceptors in the Battle of Yavin. I love TIE Interceptors. And it just was very cool to see these come out. And I just really like this box. And I am one of those weirdos that thinks that, or thought for a very long time, that Return of the Jedi was the best of the Star Wars movies. I know, controversial, it's The Empire Strikes Back, whatever. But you know what? As a kid, this is the one that really wowed me, and it wasn't the Ewoks. That was tragic. I really didn't like that part as a kid because they die. But no, what really got me about that and what I really enjoyed was that redemption of Vader and then that final form of Luke. Like, Luke beats the bad guy. The Emperor dies. There's a happy ending. And it's not just that. It's like that end of the journey where you see where Luke has been going this entire time and where he ends up. That's what really sort of spoke to me about Return of the Jedi. I really enjoy the Jabba's Palace bits, the Bounty Hunter bits. Like, I really like a lot of the stuff in that. And Lando, the redemption of Lando, the full redemption of Lando, excellent, really like that. Oh, wild. Because this is actually taking place over the sort of superstructure of a Star Destroyer. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And this is the scenario I've heard talked about the most in the least detail. So I know about destroying turbo lasers, and we'll look at the cardboard in a second. Ooh, super destroyer. Yeah, so this is all about taking out the executor. And then actually maybe making the run on the Death Star. Cool. Then there's that one. I am going to have to play these sometime. That'll be a lot of fun. Onto the cardboard, and then we'll do the pilot cards last. And similarly, you get the bases for the ships that don't come elsewhere. Whoa, those are cool tokens. So another pack. So you'll notice that a lot of these are missing because they are in other things. So I don't see Wedge. I do see Tycho. That's interesting. Okay. Bombs. Whoa, there's your turbo lasers. Nice. And there's your chunks of the Star Destroyer superstructure. Oh, that's cool. I really enjoy stuff like that. You can just kind of add a little theme to your games. And like I keep saying, this is a very cool design space, and I'm glad they did it, because it did add stuff both to competitive X-Wing and casual X-Wing, and I think that these sold pretty well, because people are really excited about them, in part because the stuff that came out was very powerful in competitive X-Wing, and powerful in kitchen table and scenario X-Wing. Got this thing too, another piece of that superstructure. Ooh, it's got like hit points, nice. Cool. Turbo laser, very nice art card. More hit points on that too. Cool, so that's just the hit points of those, so they count down to where the turbo lasers are destroyed. Wow, okay. Nice. All right, and then the pilot cards. Ooh, no, wait, upgrade cards. And we get more of these rules cards. And I really like these. It's, again, ion bombs, which is interesting. Ion bombs. Proton bombs. Okay, we got a new one. More proton bombs. More proton bombs. Well, hey, I guess there are going to be a lot of proton bombs in this, which proton bombs would be a very effective way to deal with turbo laser superstructure, so... And of course you got your full arts on the back, which is so nice. And then we got these. And this was an interesting batch where these were at first much less impactful in the game than the other ones. This wedge, I honestly think custom wedge is better. I ran this guy at Adepticon at the Last Chance qualifier this past year. Had a blast, really enjoyed him, but he's got the magic, the dream of being able to double mod a advanced proton torpedo at initiative 6, because he's got the way to get a free lock after he's got a focus. So you focus, you get the free lock once per game, you fire that sucker, boom. It really is exciting when you land it, but it also encourages you to fly incredibly stupid to get it. He's still an X-Wing, he's got an extra shield, and he's got the defensive ability where after he performs an attack that hits, he gains a free focus token, which is awesome. Not focus action, so you can double focus if you already did the focus action. Plus he's got Predator. This is a really cool wedge. I really enjoy it. I also really enjoy the locked S foils. So it gives the ship boost, but you get a deplete if you use that boost. And then here's the action bar too. So it's a very different redesign of the X-Wing and a really cool kind of AC one, and I love that. So there's a lot more to these than just the upgrades. It's also the pilot ability and the chassis ability can be different, and the action bar and the stats. So extra shield, different chassis ability, different thing, and then different action bar. Like very, very cool. And then also individual pilots can actually have different action bars, which is going to come up in a second. Endor, and there are a bunch of these again you will never ever see because they just don't compete, but they are kind of fun. This Lando, I definitely have a foil one of this with the Lando's actual photo in the pilot slot, and I really want to bust this guy out. He seems very, very cool. Just does a lot of what that Super Han did for a long time, but in a way that's less broken and a little bit more kind of toolboxy. So it'd be really hard to get used to, but also just has a lot of options to kind of control the play of the game all the way through. This is an awesome example of a thematic, very cool design card that is very powerful, but also is not overpowered, I think. This is one of the best design cards I've ever seen in the entirety of my time playing X-Wing. So this one, like, knocked it out of the park. I don't like this guy. I absolutely love custom Tycho. Love it. The ability to do actions while stressed is incredible, especially with the A-Wing's chassis ability of being able to action then boost. So, yeah. This guy I don't like because he's got proton rockets and he does not have a reposition linked focus. Doesn't have it. You have no way to focus boost. You have no way to focus barrel roll. You can't do it. So you can't prime those and then also reposition unless you have another way to get a focus token. Now he's got the defensive ability, which is pretty great. He's got juke built in, he's got it's a trap, and then he's got the extra shield. So a lot of really great things on this. You just are never going to get your proton rockets off, which I run mine with HLC. So that's my damage dealer, and I prefer that because you don't have to do something particular to line it up. So I never fired that thing. This one is a poorly designed A-Wing because it's got the combination of it's a trap and then chaff particles. Basically means that this thing could not ever die to a single shot, which is in a single turn either, because there's no charges on that. It just goes. Yeah, I mean, let's see, you need a strain. Yeah. Is it chaff particles? What is it? He's got something defensive on him. There it is. You may gain 1 strain token to change up to 2 of your blank results to eyeball results, which on something with 3 evade already, usually tokened up, is absolutely incredible. That's just nuts. So it could evade and then still convert eyeball, blank into a full paint evade. So this ship is incredibly annoying. A 3-point A-Wing that just will not die unless you point too many guns at it to be worth it. Like, this is... I think this is a poorly designed part, which is unfortunate. It's an A-Wing that won't die. And that is important because then you have the A-Wing that wants to die. This guy has the slam into blowing stuff up ability, which is really cool and thematic because we all remember that scene from the movie, but I mean, yeah. So these are ones that were maybe more balanced for the scenario. And then we get into these guys that have kind of warped the meta here. And these two have brought B-Wings back to life in the game, which is good, but they have this method of giving you... they are able to double mod munitions every single turn, like double modded proton torpedoes and a bunch of defense. Like, they're a brick wall that's very hard to get past. So they've been a little bit problematic design-wise for the game. Very good for the scenario. Tough to balance between that and standard play. So, and then we got a bunch of others, and then on the Imperial side, we have this one that's also problematic. So yeah, in some cases, this was some really amazing highs and then some pretty amazing lows. I believe it's Captain Yor, who's the 5-point defender now. So we now have the option to run 3 defenders. Right? Maybe the 6. Might be 7, 7, and 6. Yeah, okay. The math works out there. 7, 7, 6. My bad. Sorry. So the 6-point defender. And then you just have some really cool stuff in here, but then you have a ton of... Ah, beautiful. Sunterfell. Yes. And this is like the aciest ace Sunterfell ever. I really love this design of Sunterfell. Yeah. Oh, man. You got mouse, then you got just all... Oh, and then you get some bombers. Then wait, there's another one. Is there another one here? No, it's in the bomber set. Oh, there we go. Got your turbo lasers. Oh, cool. Yeah, so there's your superstructure of the Star Destroyer that actually you take down to crash into the Executor, the Super Star Destroyer. You get your turbo lasers. Look at all those rules, dang. It'd be kind of fun to play kind of a standard kitchen table game where you just have some turbo lasers in there that shoot the closest target. You just have kind of jockey with that. That'd be fun. Anyway, there's your unboxing of all 3. Net total, we are stacking a significant number of cards here. And this is one of the last things that I didn't have to complete my X-Wing collection, kind of in advance of all of this stuff being harder to get. So I was really excited to get this stuff. Who knows if I'll ever actually put it on the table, but I really hope to. Maybe when my kids are older in a couple years, but hopefully sooner. So anyway, that's it. Appreciate the time. I will put chapter markers on this to go ahead and mark which pack I'm opening when. But yeah, I will put up more X-Wing content soon. Appreciate the time. Let's get that. There we go.